Hi everyone from Train the Trainer Unit 2. I'm Erica. I was paired with Brian from Amcor to do do's of whiteboards and flip charts. Now I know most of you do a lot of virtual training. However, Brian and I have some common ground and our companies still use the good old whiteboards in the classroom. So I am going to train today on how to deliver a presentation effectively using a whiteboard. A lot of these applications would work with flip charts as well. However, I don't have access to a flip chart. So first things first, we want to make sure that the whiteboard is in a proper place. Make sure that everyone in the room can see the whole board. Next, you want to make sure if it has wheels, like this one does. I apologize, I can't get it on the video, but once you have it in the proper place, you want to make sure the wheels are locked down so when you're writing on it or putting pictures on it, it's not moving away from you. Next thing you want to make sure you have is all of your materials. You want to have an eraser for all the mistakes I make. And then a good choice of markers. I only have 4 in here today, but a color assortment usually helps. And then I don't have much of an artistic ability, so we use these fancy little Signacast magnetic clips that we use to hang pictures on the board if needed. So another good point is to use big words when you want to hit home with something or make a point, such as something that is #1 in both of our companies. So we're going to use safety as our example throughout the demonstration today. Make sure it's big and clear, bright colors. I usually use red for safety. I'm not really sure why, I just feel that's the right color. And then after that, you want to make some bullet points. When making the bullet points, you want to make sure they're brief, they're clear, big enough for everyone to see. And sometimes it's kind of fun to use a variety of colors. It's more fun and interesting, I think. So I'm going to use some examples. So one example would be a clean work area. And that's all I'm going to write on the board. So that's all they see. And then I'm going to elaborate that we want to make sure that our work area is clean and free of debris. A lot of people these days have concealed carry. So we need to make it a point, no weapons are allowed in the buildings. No horseplay. Even the most innocent of actions can really do some injury, so we want to make sure that we're always working safe. Change color here. This tends to be common in the manufacturing facility. A lot of people, especially in the summer, they like to use their air hose to cool down their bodies or blow off metal shavings. This can definitely cause eye injury, skin injury. It could actually blow debris at your coworkers. So you want to make sure you use them for what they're designed to be used for. We have inspect your equipment at the beginning and the end of every shift. You never want to be working with unsafe equipment. I want to point out, notice I'm getting closer to the bottom of the board. A couple things with that. You want to keep in mind when you're using a whiteboard or a flip chart, the closer you get to the bottom, the more awkward position you're going to be in when you write on it. You're going to be bending over. Either bend at the knees and keep your back straight, or I tend to start writing at an angle. I'll turn my body and write at more of an angle instead of bending down. It's not always our best side. It's not mine. Then also keep a gap at the bottom so that it ensures that everyone in the classroom can see, including all the people in the back. Sometimes we do this in a larger room, in an auditorium here at SignaCast, due to the number of new hires we'll bring in, or maybe a leadership class. So we want to make sure that everybody in the room can see everything you're putting on the board. Okay. So when you want to branch off and go into some specifics, a good example Brian and I thought was good to discuss, considering we have forklifts moving all around all day, all night, everywhere. Everybody needs to be aware of the forklifts. And we also have forklift drivers, so we want them to be safe. Here's where I like to put a visual aid along with what I'm writing. Kind of helps everybody connect the two, and this is where I use my fancy little pictures. And then at this point, I ask if anybody in the room wants to volunteer any ideas of what we would consider some good points for forklift safety. Some examples that I have for this demonstration. So here at SignaCast, nobody should be operating that forklift unless they were properly trained and they're certified by our safety coordinator here at SignaCast. They always need to be aware of their surroundings. People, materials, anything in the way, that's the forklift driver's responsibility. Before driving the forklift, always check for leaks, oil leak, hydraulic leak. Another good one would be seatbelt. Make sure the seatbelt's working properly. Making sure that everything's working properly on the forklift before just jumping on and going to do the task. Then we also have what we call an LGV, or a laser guided vehicle, which is basically an automated forklift. This saves us in 2 of our modules from having to hire a full-time forklift driver for all the needs that we need with forklift. So there are also some safety concerns with this. It uses sensors that are located along the walls to help guide its path. So some important points with that. We need clear travel routes. Those sensors may not pick up pallets or boxes or anything that might be in the pathway of the LGV. You never, ever, ever want to walk in front of the LGV. Those sensors may not notice you, and a bad accident could definitely happen. Unfortunately, we have had an incident that one of our maintenance guys was driving on their cart, and they cut in front of the LGV, and it caught one of the forklifts. It faulted the LGV, but the LGV did not stop, and it rammed right into the cart. So accidents do happen. We need to be very aware of where we're going and where the LGV is going. And alarms. We need to pay attention. We need to hear those alarms going off. In case that alarm is going off, then we need to go find out what happened, whether it crashed or it can't find the load that it needs to pick up. Maybe there's a full spot where it needs to drop it off. But we always need to be aware. If we hear the alarms, we need to go check to see what happened. So those are my examples for that. And then, not to scare anybody, but I like to also give examples of what can really happen and why it's so important to be mindful. So here, didn't want to stay. So here, I have an example that I like to use. This one doesn't want to stick. Stay. Well, we'll just let them rest down here. So as you can see in this picture, this guy is sitting on his cell phone right in front of the forklift driver. So if we're not paying attention, that's when an accident is going to happen. So keep in mind, distractions slow us down. I have another one. We have this know before you load. Know the weight capacity of the forklift that you are driving. If you don't know and you put something on that's too heavy, you have a potential safety hazard. This is a good example. Okay? And usually I'll ask if anybody has any questions or comments to add to any of these examples. Sometimes I get examples from previous workplaces. Not really too many horror stories, so that's good. And sometimes I think these captions kind of stick with them more than some of the bullet points. It's just a couple things that we really like to stress. This one always kind of scares me a little bit. I always worry that people are going to do this because they're in such a hurry. And it may not be this exact example, but these don't really have to stick to this board. it's not working properly. But in case it's hard to see on there, so we have a forklift driver who's lifting another forklift with people on it to lift a load upstairs. So we do have to get loads from upstairs quite often here. And sometimes people are in such a hurry, someone will jump on the forks or do something stupid. We want to think before we act. This could end up being really, really serious, and it could cost someone's life. So we really want to make sure that we're safe. So I think using the visual aids along with a caption kind of hits home. And if you have the artistic ability, sometimes it's more fun if you can draw that picture, but I definitely cannot. So I'm gonna jump now to throw in there that don't forget to add in your summary, and we're gonna do that right now. So this is where I'll ask anyone in the classroom if they would please feel free to share some of their key points that they took away from the lesson today. And if they would not mind, if they would like to come up, grab a marker and write it on the board themselves. So you'll get a variety. Hopefully all the good points that we went over in class. But then this kind of gets them up and moving, and they can contribute what they want on the board. And this could easily work on a flip chart as well. On this page, anybody can contribute, everybody can go write up what they want to. But keep in mind, if you are using a flip chart and you're just using the papers and you have them on the walls, make sure you double sheet so that the markers don't go through to the wall. Then after that, I thank everybody, and then I let them know that there's one more thing I'd like them to walk away with. Keep this in mind. I like to end it with a caption that hopefully hits home. And then I kind of leave this on there. I send them off to like a 5 to 10 minute break, and I keep this on here until they come back and we move on to the next topic. Thank you.